Alright, y'all, so today I want to make a quick video to give you my thoughts on some recent Batman-related DCU news. Just kind of give you my overall thoughts on it and maybe just a little bit more general thoughts on DC on film right now. So, lately with terms of Batman, there's been a bunch of rumors online figuring out, who's going to play the new James Gunn DCU Batman. And there's been a lot of names being thrown out there. And James Gunn recently came onto social media, commented on these changes, and shot all of them down. There's also a lot of things he said about Batman, and just in general, there's just been a lot of talk about what is the DCU's Batman and what it's going to be like. And I personally think while it's super exciting to get all this information, at the same time it's really too early to say anything about Batman in the DCU. I mean, this universe legit just started. I mean, I think Superman came out this year, Peacemaker season 2 came out, it's currently going, and Peacemaker season 1 and James Gunn's Suicide Squad is technically canon. So there really hasn't been too much substantial that's really been canonized and happening in Gunn's DCU. Now to go with the casting rumors. For whatever reason, Chris Pratt was the name people were throwing around to become the new Batman, which personally, I think that's a pretty bad choice. I just don't think Chris would be a good Batman. I just think his style and the way he portrays himself, like characters like Star-Lord, I just don't think he'll be a good Batman. I do think that he should be in the DCU, maybe playing a different character, but not Batman. And this was kind of a rumor going around online. Gunn addressed it. He basically said that Chris Pratt is for sure not going to be Batman. And basically, but he did say that like Chris Pratt, he does have a place for him in the DCU, a role that he's thinking about. So this confirms that Chris Pratt is probably going to be in the DCU, playing whatever role that's going to be. And he's not going to be Batman, which is a good thing. I think that just would be a bad casting choice. I wouldn't like that. Now, the biggest name that's being thrown around online and stuff is the name. I can't remember. I can't remember his last name exactly, but his name is Alan Rickman or Reichman or something like that. He's like a pretty popular actor. He was in shows like Reacher, and people have been throwing around this fan casting for the longest time. Like I've seen this fan casting for months, and there's been a lot of speculation. Right, is he going to be playing the DCU Batman? Now, personally, I got a good look at him, and he's got the build. Right, he's got the build to become Batman. He wouldn't be a horrible choice. I don't think he would be a great choice, and there's definitely other names I would have in mind to play Batman, but he could definitely play some character in the DCU, and there's some slight potential he could be Batman. So I'm kind of not like fully against it, but I would prefer someone else to play Batman still. Like usually, most of the time I would prefer maybe an unknown who looks more like Batman in the comics, because that's usually how it's done anyway. Well, there's been a lot of speculation. Even the actor commented on it, and eventually he posted something to his social media saying that him and James Gunn have officially exchanged words, talked about the whole situation, and while I guess Gunn apparently considered it, eventually decided that he's not going to be becoming Batman. Most likely, he's not going to be Batman, but he does have a role from the DCU that will be revealed soon. So this actor is going to be in the DCU playing some other character. I've seen other names being thrown around. I heard for whatever reason Wildcat he could play, which I can totally see that. That would be an interesting choice. But that kind of shoots down all the rumors. He's not going to be Batman. Which, I've heard a lot of people being bummed out about this. I don't think the guy was a horrible choice, but there's definitely other people I think that could have been better casted or just a better fit for the role. So I'm not exactly heartbroken by this news. And I mean, in terms of like who could play Batman now, what are the rumors going to be? Who knows? Personally, in my opinion, the DCU Batman film is a long ways away. We're probably not going to get anything official about this movie for a long time, just because there's other pieces moving right now that don't necessarily involve or we spearheading the Batman movie. For one, the Batman Part 2 is currently being in, pre-production. It's happening, right? They turned in a script. I think they're going to shoot the movie next year in 2026 and it's going to release in 2027. That's going to happen, and I'm sure Warner Brothers is going to put all their energy into making that movie successful. Also, Gunn, he's doing his Super Family movie. He's kind of, pushing that forward, which, that's going to take up a lot of energy and time. So, and I think the studio mentioned, or I don't know if Gunn, I think Gunn may have shot it down, but they might be spearheading a Wonder Woman movie, or at least they're trying to get that script done. Now, there's a script currently being written for the Batman movie, and I think they announced that Andy Muschietti, the guy who directed The Flash, is doing it, but I've heard radio silence about whatever happened to that. I mean, I heard some drama between him and James Gunn happened like a few months ago, which I think that was probably just due to like a misunderstanding. Because I don't know if the director even knew like what his movie was exactly. But like I said, there's really no news about it. All I know is really concrete that they're writing a script. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I want them to take their time. There's been a lot of Batman movies over the years, and I definitely want the DCU's Batman to be good and something original, right? And I think, with the script being currently written, I think it's just too early to say anything about casting. While it's fun to definitely speculate, and, Gunn's always responding to rumors and stuff, I think it's just really too early to say anything about Batman. I think personally, maybe next year, maybe 2027, then we can maybe start, saying things about Batman, who's going to be playing him, what's going to happen with the movie, right? And I mean, they're definitely not going to have the Batman Brave and the Bold movie come out the same year, the Batman Part 2, which that film's most likely coming out in 2027. So don't expect this movie to come out probably until like 2028, 2029. That's if like everything stays on track. So, personally, while it's exciting, I think it's just really too early to say. I think a lot of the online discourse is fun, but it's kind of a little bit, it's too early to say anything really. It's a big wait and see. We really got to wait and see what happens with this movie. Um, and yeah, I mean that's overall kind of my thoughts on the whole casting situation. I think people are just really, I'm not gonna really quote intended here or pun intended, they're really just jumping the gun on these casting rumors. And it's always fun to speculate, but at the same time, it's really too early to say anything until they've really completed a full developed script and the movie, gets moving along faster along those terms. Because I don't even think Gunn even knows his version of Batman exactly. I know he's made some comments like he said that he didn't want his Batman to be campy because people were speculating that just because the title Brave and the Bold, that's like the old, cartoon animated show that came out a few years back, which was much campier in tone. I don't think Gunn's Batman is going to be campy necessarily. Like, for example, I don't think it's going to be like the 60s Batman or anything like that. But I would expect my personal choice would be I wouldn't mind a more lighthearted Batman movie. At least things that, more. And, Gunn's universe seems to embrace a lot more comic booky elements. So I can see that Gunn's Batman movie is going to be like that. There's going to be tons of comic booky stuff. And that's just going to inherently make the movie less realistic, more maybe not more campy, but more goofy, more fun. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that'll be a good tone for a Batman movie. We don't have to take it so seriously like we have with the Matt Reeves movies or the Snyder movies. Something a little more loose and fun, I think, definitely would be for the best. But that's overall my opinion of the Batman casting rumors, the whole situation, and kind of like my overall thoughts on this initial state of DCU's Batman, Brave and the Bold. Alrighty, y'all, have a good day and peace, y'all.